Hi, I'm Dave Litton and welcome to my pre-planning preparation video. As you can see here, you would truly be surprised at how many project managers just rush headlong into planning and end up failing as a result. You've probably read elsewhere that the main job of a project manager is to create a plan and then manage against it, and that's true. But the danger is, directly you've been assigned to a project, is to pull the team together, get in a room and start producing a plan. And that's the first mistake. So what I recommend you actually do is don't just do something, sit there. Let's see what I mean by that rather strange statement. It'll be helpful if we first of all consider what doing, managing, delivering a project is all about. Now, projects are instruments of change. They're one of the many ways in which you can introduce change into your organization. And therefore the need for change normally starts because someone needs it, there's a problem that needs to be resolved, or an opportunity, or maybe even a customer request. And to manage the change, you need to understand project management. A definition is that project management is the process by which projects are defined in the first place, then planned, then monitored against the plan, and controlled by taking action, and ultimately delivered the end products, if you will, of the project, so that over a period of time the agreed benefits can be realized. So this is what management of the project is all about. But before I get to that, let's have a look at the sequence. You see, once this need, problem, opportunity, or request or something has been identified and it's used to trigger the project, then one of the first pieces of information we need to get together is the business case. This lays out the benefits, of course, and it gives the reasons why the project is needed. But we'll also need to understand what the success criteria is. Now, I'll talk about that in a short while, so stay with me here. However, I'm sure you can appreciate that this must mean the metrics, the measurements, the criteria that must be achieved for the project to be successful. This will lead us then to ultimately understanding what the project is, and that is discussing and understanding what the scope is, what the time scale of the project is, what budget's required, and what the fitness for purpose or quality aspects of the project is required. Having understood that, we can then start creating the plan. This will be the project plan that the project manager will want to get approved by the project board, the sponsor, or whoever is responsible for directing and authorizing the project in the first place. Don't forget, plans contain activities and products or deliverables, but they don't make themselves on their own. You need to assign resources to the plan before you can start to authorize it. Now, resources can be human, you and I, or non-human, such as training rooms, materials, equipment, facilities, and so on. So all of this is pulled together in the plan, which then needs to be authorized by the appropriate people. This will then trigger the project manager to start giving out the work. That's the work information contained in the plan. And the team that is responsible for creating the deliverables or products, often called a specialist team, you may prefer to call them a technical team, it depends on your industry, will then start creating the products based on the plan itself. The project manager's job now, of course, is to monitor progress against the plan and to manage the plan to make sure it delivers. But where things go wrong or change, then control needs to take place by the project manager. Now, what project management control simply means is taking some form of corrective action to ensure that the actual work continues to be aligned to the plan which has been approved. Ultimately, of course, the aim of the project is to deliver products, or deliverables if you will, and it's these products that will be used in the business as usual or the operational area to actually over time realize the benefits that were contained all along in the business case. So here's a nice pen picture of the story of project management, but the piece that interests me and you in this particular video is this piece. And that's where I want to spend a couple of more minutes discussing with you and showing you why this is important. Now, the project management definition, let's have a little look at that next. Projects bring about change, As I said earlier, a project takes you from the old to the new, whatever that is. Whether it's a new way of working, whether it's a different process, whether it's a different product, whether the organisation is changing, what have you. And project management is recognised as the most efficient way of managing such change. You have to understand that projects, by their very nature, are usually reasonably sized undertakings. If you had a personal assignment, perhaps spanning a week or two, then you'd probably see that as an assignment. You wouldn't necessarily call it a project, although there's nothing wrong with that. And indeed, if you are undertaking a personal assignment, some of the aspects and techniques of project management could also be helpful. What this results in is management. And a definition of this is the process of leading the team, if you will, planning the project in the first place, organising as the project goes through its various stages, and controlling, as I've said, by taking corrective action, the resources of the organisation, that's the project organisation, to achieve stated goals as productively as possible. Bit of a mouthful this, but it's an excellent definition of project management and management in general. So this will lead you naturally to the statement that project management is the process by which projects are defined in the first place, then planned, then monitored, that's monitoring their actual progress against what the plan says, controlled when the plan and the actual progress doesn't align, then that's the project manager taking some corrective actions, but ultimately delivered such that when the end product or deliverable is there, the agreed benefits within the business case over a period of time can be realised. And that's an important point I want to make here. The end product or deliverable of the project needs to be used normally for some period of time before benefits are accrued or realised. So it's quite natural and normal that once the project is totally and utterly finished, that benefits will come on stream at some point after that, maybe months, maybe even years. So let's deal now with the project success criteria and talk about what this is. It can often be confusing if you don't understand this clearly. Project success is the satisfaction of stakeholder needs, which means you need to buy in. Everyone, all the stakeholders need to understand and agree what success means, and is measured by the success criteria as identified and agreed at the start of the project. So, project success criteria are the qualitative or quantitative measures by which the success of the project is and will be judged. So can you see it's important to get agreement with everyone concerned about what success looks and feels like, and make sure that it is measurable. If it isn't, then it's up to interpretation, which is dangerous. Now the project manager, by the very nature of what they do, may see that success would be meeting time, delivering the project to its time frame, its budget, meeting quality requirements, and scope. Now scope is a word which means what's included and what isn't. So the project manager will be very focused on delivering precisely what's needed, nothing more, nothing less. So therefore, when it comes to success criteria and you ask the project manager, you'd very likely get a response around these types of metrics. But you should not only rely on the project manager. Customers and users, for example, are another group that's important. For example, an operational manager expecting the project to deliver some change into their organisation would see as no disruption to business as usual as being a key success criteria, possibly as well as these. So the message here is to involve all key players or stakeholders. And this brings us, of course, to the fact that project success criteria needs to be measured, and acceptance criteria is a great way of capturing that. What you'd normally do is to go and poll from the key players what they believe acceptance criteria is, and produce a list, a document, and then feed that back and get it signed off in some way so that everyone is clear and agreed on exactly what success looks like and on what basis the customer or end user would accept the end product from the project. So acceptance criteria must define in measurable terms the characteristics required of the final product of the project so that it is acceptable to the customer and users. We want them to be shaking our hands saying, fantastic, send me the invoice. And this brings me to the final product. We talked about acceptance criteria, and this builds upon that thought, if you will. It may well be that your customer sees that what's acceptable would be performance levels generated as a result of the project. It might be something more aesthetic, like appearance, or the capacity of something to carry out work at a speed or something else. It might be reliability, so it doesn't break down, or it might be about increasing availability in some way. But guess what? There's never just one version of this, which is why it's important the project manager should see their main and most important activity throughout the project is what's generally known as management by walking about. Make sure we get everyone involved. For example, another person might see the key point might be development costs. Perhaps the budget is fixed and that they want to get what they need within a certain capped budget. Or it might be running costs or target dates. Maybe they need it by a particular point in time. Or maybe it's more to do with functionality. Very often requirements documents pull out key functions that must be met. And this brings us neatly to what's known as key performance indicators or KPIs. Now, whereas success criteria are those measurements which, when met, are agreed that the project is successful, but it's no point waiting until we find out that we can't be successful. So a very important aspect is to develop key performance indicators so you can track progress towards particular success criteria. So these are measures that can be used throughout the project to ensure that it is progressing towards a successful conclusion. Now, if we just took a simple timeline, you might well have key performance indicators at key points in time. These might, for example, be the end of stages, or they might be something else like a key product or deliverable has been met. So each key performance indicator should match each criterion. That's a success criteria, if you will. They should be measurable indicators that's used to report progress. Beware of saying things like it's nearly complete, or we're 80% done or 90% done, let's move on. It must be 100%. They must be clear and ambiguous and chosen to reflect the success criteria. Just think for a moment, for a particular project or assignment you're on. Do you know what the success criteria is? And do you have any key performance indicators for yourself to track progress against that particular assignment? So project success factors, factors that when present are most conducive to the project's success. And critical success factors, the absence of these would cause the project to fail. Now this is a very important part of this slide. Make sure you clearly understand, contrast and compare between these two important aspects. Just finally, I'd like you to imagine. Imagine being able to absorb the skills, the art of project management in your own time without the need to go on a formal training course. Imagine being able to easily grasp the key skills and concepts of project management and become fluent in the management of projects. This will build a life skill for you so that management will see you as a valuable person. It must therefore improve your career and promotion prospects. So finally, I'd like to thank you for your time and joining me on this short video, and perhaps you'd like to check out my project management primer at www.project-management-primer.com. Thank you, and I hope to have your company again soon.